Fucking hell.
Halfway across Australia.
G'day. Well, it started raining and it's meant to rain for the next week, so I'm stuck in the shed tinkering with the shovel this morning. But it got me thinking, I've owned stacks of bikes over the years, everything from two-stroke Yamahas, dirt bikes, Triumphs, and now all the big twin Harleys that I'm into. Some of the bikes I own are amazing, some of them are bloody terrible. One that I remember in particular about was an old rigid chopper Triumph I built from the ground up and crashed it one night coming home from the gym. I'll tell you that story in a minute. Anyway, so while I'm in the shed, I thought I'd tell the story of a few of these bikes that I've owned. Don't hesitate to chuck a comment and tell me about the bikes you guys have owned and ridden and probably regret selling like me. I wish I'd kept every single one of them. Or maybe not all of them. A few. Yeah, so anyway, if you enjoy old bike stories and garage talk, go grab a coffee and let's hang out in the shed. I still remember my first bike. I don't know how old I was, probably just started high school, so maybe 13 or something. And my dad rode bikes and had a collection of old blown up, broken Hondas and Kawasaki's and Yamahas and shit in the backyard. And somebody must have given him this old two-stroke RD 125, I think, and it had been in a head-on collision. So the front forks were bent right back, so the front wheel was pretty well touching the frame. So it was unrideable, but the motor still ran, everything else worked. And we didn't really have much money to spend on bikes and stuff, so the bike was free, so it was the right price. And I remember Dad teaching me, we pulled the fork tubes out and we lit a fire in the front yard and chucked the fork tubes in the fire in an attempt to heat them up, soften them a bit, and then pulled them out. I just bashed the crap out of them with a sledgie that we had in the shed and got them where they looked like they were straight. But like looking back at it now, that was never going to work. It's pretty obvious. So after that, we'd go out to my cousin's farm, and he had a YZ80J, which was just an awesome bike. I was so jealous. I wish I had something like that. Like this old clunker heap of shit RD125. And every time I'd follow him around the track, he had a few jumps built and stuff. I'd go over a jump, and when I land, the forks, because they weren't perfectly straight, would collapse and then lock closed, so they'd be down. I'd have to get off the bike, hold the handlebars, and kick the front tyre to make them expand again the whole way, jump back on the bike, and then off I go. I ended up progressing on from that to a XL 250, a Honda old silver tank thing, which was a great bike. I loved it. I spray painted it and did it all up, so it was nice. And by this stage I'd started an apprenticeship where I was travelling to Sydney in the train every day, so it was a good bike to get me to the train station. But some filthy grubs stole it from the train station. I was gutted. It was my pride and joy, and it was gone. I had a few other bikes, just different chook chasers and stuff, that I'd ride on the road or in the hills or whatever after that. But my next real bike for me, I had a RD 250, so it was a Yamaha two-stroke. The bloke I lived with at the time had a RZ 250, and they were just like the bike at the time. I couldn't afford an RZ. I bought this RD for $800, but I put an RZ fairing on it to make it look like an RZ 250, but it wasn't. But anyway, we had these two-stroke 250s, and they were pretty fast for the time. They were great bikes to ride. I loved it. But I remember, even though we were riding these two-stroke 250s, we had posters of Harleys and stuff like that in the garage that we were living in at the time. And so we definitely had an interest in choppers and Harleys and that sort of stuff, but only rich people had Harleys. There was no way I was ever going to have one. So here I am on my $800 RD 250 riding around with my best mate on his RZ 250, and we just thought we were too cool for school. Anyway, I remember one day we were riding up past an old pub, the Tall Timbers in Ourimbah on the Central Coast, and we had right away. And as we were riding along, a 1% common sharer came down the hill, and he was, I don't know, he was riding an old Shovelhead or something, and he looked at us, and we looked at him, and I guess we were admiring his bike, and then he looked at us and he shoved his finger like that down his throat at us, like saying he's just disgusted in the bikes we were riding. I sort of look back at it now thinking he was probably a bit of a tool doing that, but at the time I was like, Jesus Christ, I want to get a Harley, that's cool, you know. So the Harley really got cemented in both me and my mate. We really wanted to ride bikes like that and have a bit of an attitude, I guess, not ride around in full leathers and boots and full face helmet. You know, that's cool if that's your thing, but it just wasn't what we wanted. Yeah, so anyway, eventually I got a job in a factory. I moved up the north coast of New South Wales and got a job in a factory, and I managed to save enough money to buy a chopper Triumph, like a rigid, you know, forward controls, big 8 hangers, all that business. Some bloke who just got out of jail and needed the money, so he sold it and I bought it. I rode home in the pissing down rain that night, but I loved it. It was just like, it wasn't a Harley, but to me it was just as good, and it was in my price range. It ran like a bucket of shit because it had twin carbies that I couldn't tune properly and all sort of business, but still, I love that bike. I pulled it completely down, resprayed it a different colour, put different bars and stuff. You know, did all the stuff you do to make the bike your own, and I rode that for some time. My old man rode an old Thunderbird as well, so we'd ride together. You know, it was pretty cool. We sent him photos to Ozbike magazine of both of us, and they published them, which I thought was awesome. I was stoked with that. Yeah, so I had the chopper Triumph, riding that around, and I had a Sandman panel van, you know, the 308 4-speed gearbox, all that. So full single man's cars, you know. But then I met Lisa, and eventually marriage and family and all that sort of business comes along, and we needed to buy a house. So probably the story that everybody tells, I had to sell all my crap to get this deposit for this house. So I sold my chopper and I sold my panel van, and I bought the Ford station wagon, and I bought the house. And from that point on, I just had like XT 250s and just shit bikes, but bikes that I could ride to work and still have a bit of a thrill on, but nothing like I'm doing these days, you know. Eventually, but my old man came across a basket case Triumph. I think it was a 67 or 68 Tiger or something, completely in pieces, just a frame, you know. I think he had a spare tank. The motor was no good, so I bought it very cheap and basically built that bike from the ground up. I paid somebody else to build the bottom end of the motor, and my father and I built the top end, and I painted it and built the seat, and, you know, did all that sort of business. So I had another rigid chopper Triumph, I guess, and I was stoked with it. You know, I'd built it. I'd spent, you know, months and months and months in the garage after work, you know, just chipping away at it. But I still wanted a Harley. I still wanted one. It just wasn't what I wanted, you know. And then another mate had a Yamaha IT 250, so a trail bike or a road trail, and he blew the motor and a few other things wrong with it, and he gave it to me with all the parts to rebuild the motor. He said, you can have it. He bought a brand new bloody Honda CR or something, and so I rebuilt the Yamaha IT. So now I had the IT in the shed and the Triumph, and then I seen this bloody, I think it was a 1987 XLH Sportstar come up for sale locally, and it was in mint condition, all the chrome, all the flash paint, all that business. And I sort of figured if I could sell the Triumph and the IT, it'd finance the Sportster. So, you know, finally it was like an option. It wasn't a soft tail, it wasn't a big twin. I couldn't afford them. It just was out of my reach. And a Sportster was the next best thing. So that's exactly what I did. I went and bought the Sportster. and then I flipped the Triumph and the IT, and I rode that Sportster every day for 5 years to work, everywhere. It was in the pissing down rain, in the bloody freezing cold all through winter. That was my transport. I rode it. But those Sportsters, man, those old ones, like everything that I could break on it, I broke. I blew the gearbox up. The wheel bearings in the rear wheel seized to the axle, and I had to use a grinder and a big sledger to get the axle out and the wheel off. I cracked the frame. I cracked the rear guard. I don't know, it's too long ago now, but I know that I broke everything on it you can break. But I had some fun doing it anyway. It was good. Eventually, after years, I lost my job. I got made redundant in this factory, and I had to sell the Sportster. I needed money. I needed to try and find another job to feed my family and that sort of business. So the Sportster went, and I started a new job, which didn't pay well, and I was bikeless for, I don't know, probably 5 years. Didn't ride a bike at all. I just saw that was in the past. I'm being responsible now. And then my bloody neighbour bought a Ducati, and he came over showing it off, and I just thought they were the sexiest thing in the world. And he said, take it for a ride. And I went, no, I can't do that. You know, what if I crash it? I can't afford to bloody fix it or pay for it. He goes, take it for a ride. I want you to. It's insured. Go. And didn't really know the bloke that well, to be honest. But anyway, I jumped on this Ducati and I went for a ride, and I just went, oh man, I got to buy another bike. And it all started up again from that day. I ended up buying a Triumph Thunderbird, like a more modern one. They're like a wannabe Harley Triumph, 1600cc, great bike, awesome bike. Just as good, if not better than a Harley, but they don't sound like a Harley. They're the parallel twin. I built custom pipes for it, did everything on it you could do on it, but you can't make a Triumph a Harley. They're different bikes, simple as that. After riding the Triumph for about 5 years, I seen a 2015 Dyna Wide Glide at the local dealer, and it had like this black tank with these gold flames on it, and everything about the Wide Glide to me, I just looked at it and went, that's what a Harley's meant to look like. It was perfect. So I took the Triumph in, traded it, got a brand new Wide Glide, my first brand new motorbike and my first big V-twin, and I was stoked. I put big apes on it, Fancy and Hines, better suspension also, and we did some Ks on that bike. We rode everywhere, me and the missus, and that's when the real bug for touring started for us. We were able to travel serious kilometres and see different parts of Australia, and it was great. But loading luggage on there, 2 people, putting a windshield on the front, all sort of business, it's just not right. Dyna Glides, yeah, you can ride them anywhere, but they're not designed to be a tourer. A Wide Glide is meant to look like an old school Harley, I reckon. And that's when the Road King specials come out, and I've been eyeing them off for a while. And in 2021, I traded the Dyna on the Road King special. I think I paid 26 grand for that Dyna Wide Glide, brand new. And 5 years later, they gave me 24 grand trading, because that was all the COVID rubbish where vehicles were just worth heaps of money. And I was like, when else am I going to be able to do this? Lose $2,000 on a vehicle after 5 years of flogging it. So I jumped on it and I bought the Road King Special, and it's just been the best bike. Best bike for what we do. You can't get better, I reckon. I've got the Shovelhead here behind me, which is great. You know, it's a 1975 frame. It's an 82 motor, so it's an 80, not an 82 motor, it's an 80 cube. It's a great bike. I just love mucking around with bikes and, you know, fixing them. It's sort of different now. I still got a bit of anxiety riding this thing, because you're worried or wondering when it's going to let you down or break down on you when you ride it. Back in the day when I was riding the Triumphs, they all did let me down and break down all the time, but I never worried about it. You just rode, and when it happened, you dealt with it. I don't know, it was just a different frame of mind or attitude back then, I guess. Don't know. Yeah, so anyway, I forgot to mention or tell the story about the crash on the Triumph on my chopper. So what happened was, as I said before, I bought it as a basket case. I built it up, painted it, built the seat, built the motor, put it all together, got it bloody registered, which was just a mission in itself. And I was riding to the gym this night. So yes, I've been to the gym, I've done a workout, come out, feeling on top of the world, like I've just, I'm just killing it. And then I come to this roundabout, and it had these low drag pipes on it. When I go around a corner or a roundabout in particular, they drag on the ground and sparks would fly up. So it's dark, it's night time. I hit the roundabout and all these sparks are coming up, and I'm like, I don't know, 23, 24 or something, and I think I'm so cool. Look at me leaning into this roundabout, all these sparks coming up, just living my best life. Then all of a sudden, the pipes dig in and the bike just kicks me off, and I'm on my back in the middle of the road. But I didn't get hurt, the bike didn't get badly damaged, but all the traffic was stopped, and they're just watching this idiot flounder around on his back and with his bike still running. So the bike is lying on its side, the back tyre's on the ground, the foot peg's on the ground, and it's just idling, but the bike is just going in circles, and I can't get into it to hit the kill switch and turn it off. So I go in, then I run away, then I go in, then I run away, looking like a complete idiot in front of everybody. Eventually, I don't know if it stalled or if I was able to hit the kill switch, but it stopped, and I picked it up and I wheeled it off the road just to sort of collect my thoughts. Nothing was hurt, just my pride. Just thought I looked like such a fool. But anyway, I'm on the side of the road, and the first car that had stopped was some young, good-looking Sheila, and she's seen the whole thing, seen me come off the bike and everything that's happened, right? And I'm just so embarrassed. And she comes up and she goes, "Oh my God, are you okay? You just crashed your motorbike." And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. It's all good, no worries. And I just wanted to go away. I was so embarrassed. And then I'm talking to her, only for seconds, but coincidentally, my wife Lisa happens to be driving past. She doesn't see the crash, she doesn't see anything. She just drives past. I'm on the side of the road, pulled up on my bike, chatting to some hot chick. And she gets out of the car and feeds it to me. And I'm like, whoa, I've just crashed the friggin' chopper. Couldn't believe my luck. Couldn't have got any worse. Another story I remember is when I had the Sportster. I was riding along one day. I think I was going to work in the morning. I was going down the highway. So it's like 100, 110 zone. And there was a ute in front of me. And it had a two-seater lounge in the back of this ute. It wasn't tied down, no tarp, nothing like that. And I could see every now and again the two-seater lounge would just hover 2 inches off the tray, 4 inches off the tray, 6 inches off the tray. Next thing I know, I had a two-seater lounge coming straight for me, and I swerved. I don't know how I did it, but I missed it, and the two-seater lounge went straight down my lane, got smashed to pieces. But I was like, shit, it's not every day you almost get taken out by a two-seater lounge on a Harley. Crazy. Yeah, so as I probably touched on before, I regret selling every single one of these bikes. I should have kept them. I don't know what I've had, maybe 30 or 40 bikes over the years. One I really regret, probably the wide glider. If I could have financially kept that, I would have. That was just such a good bike, a modern bike, but unreal. Another one I bought not long ago, probably only, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago. I bought a Triumph Speed Triple, but the earlier 1994 or something, just with a single headlight, not those silly twin headlight looking things. Black, I remember when I was a kid seeing an ad for it. Can't remember, it was like a Bull Terrier or a Rottweiler or something chained up to the bike, and it was just an unreal ad, like how tough's this bike. And I always wanted one, but same thing, out of my price range. And one came up for about 5 or 6 grand there a few years ago, so I bought it, and I was going to restore it and keep it, for forever maybe. But if you watch my channel, 99% of my riding is two up. The missus is always on the back, and we're going somewhere, whether it's down the coffee shop or across Australia, we're going somewhere together. I took her on the Speed Triple. I dead set don't reckon we got 1.5 k's from home, and she said, "Take me home." It's the worst bike she's ever been on. So I loved it. It was unreal. I ticked that box, got it out of my system. Wish I could have kept it. Probably regret selling it. But anyway, what do you do? I wouldn't say any of the bikes that I had really scared me. The two strokes are crazy to ride. I remember test riding a Suzuki RGV 250 with a view of buying it when I was a young fella, and it was just a crazy bike to ride. I was too big for it, and it was too fast for me. Like, it was insane, so I didn't end up buying that bike. I reckon the most fun bike to ride I ever had was probably my first rigid Triumph. Just the whole concept, you know, 8 hangers I'd never had before, forward controls, brake front end, gears and brakes on the opposite side, sprung seat, rigid frame. Yeah, just everything about it was probably bad, but just exciting and, you know, fun to ride, something different, just a challenge. I love that bike. Wish I still had that for sure. Probably the worst bike I had was an old Honda VFR, I think it was. It was crap. Everything was just needed everything. The brakes, everything was stuffed on it. I don't know why I bought it. Don't think it let me down, but just an absolute bucket of shit to ride. Yeah, so out of curiosity, let me know what the first bike was you ever owned, or even if you owned any of the bikes I've had over the years. Drop a comment. Keen to have a chat. Yeah, and also out of all the bikes that I've spoken about today, what era do you reckon was the best? You reckon the 70s, two-strokes and all that sort of business, or the 80s and 90s, you know, all the Japanese big bikes, or the more modern Harleys? Let us know about that in the comments as well. Yeah, anyway, that's my motorcycle history and some of the bikes I've owned over the years. I'm curious to know what your first bike was and which ones you regret selling. So make sure you leave a comment. Right, thanks for hanging out with me in the shed today. See ya.
We hope you enjoyed our video. If you did, please subscribe and give us a big thumbs up. We'll catch you next time on East Coast Trippers.